Okay, I think I'm live now, and I'm bright as fuck. Let's see. Okay, so I'm not sure how to start this off. Start it. Some time ago, like 4 months, 5 months ago, wrote a blog piece about conspiracy theories, and it was picked up on a Flat Earth podcast, in part because I gave it to one of the hosts, this guy in the bottom right corner, Alex Stein, a pal of mine, who's a co-host of the Baby Truther Show. One of the hosts is David Weiss, a Flat Earther, not there. Top right, Jaron Cabanellas. You may recognize him from Behind the Curve documentary. And then bottom left is Rose, known as Rose777 on the internet. Don't know her last name. But they're all Flat Earthers, general conspiracy theorists. So I won't talk too much about my blog because Alex Stein kindly read the whole thing out loud on the podcast. So it'll be fun to see what they say about it, even though I already know what they say about it. But anyway, the argument of it was that you can categorize two categories: those that are pro-political, meaning those that accept most American politics as legitimate and believing that outcomes are contingent and that they can influence them. QAnon is a good example of the article. Primary example. The article's called QAnon is Talk, which is a title that'll make more sense later. And then the ones that are anti-political are the ones that reject close to all or exactly mainstream politics is theater, being fake, being psyops, and that you can't really influence political outcomes in any meaning. Things like elections don't matter. Protests are either irrelevant or staged. Any kind of political action that you have, again, either irrelevant or staged. If it's large, it was allowed to happen, or influenced, or just paid actors, etc. That's pro and anti. Flat Earthers are basically across the board anti-political. Alex Stein, this is true to less of a degree. He doesn't believe in political competition, for example. He believes that countries exist, and this will come out in the article. But anyway, I'll just let them read it, and then I'll pause and moves along. So anyway, Baby Truth the show. Jaron, Alex Stein, Rose777.
Rose 777. You're famous now. You know, we're going to read an article about you, but you are in the news.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, so about like 100 or so people read the article, so she's not famous. She actually gets more views on her own channel than she blog. I don't remember the exact number of people who read it. It was like around 1 to 200 people. It should be far more because it's really good, but it is what it is. Hey, well now, if it was 100 before, it's 103 because these guys. But anyway.
I've made it. I have arrived.
Finally!
Let me cut that off. I don't know if a blog post is the news.
Oh,
I don't know
shit.
if the blog post is in news.
Fuck you, Alex. It is the news. No, Alex is the only one who seems to have a sense of the scale at which I'm operating on. Because my shiny ass forehead, you can tell I've got some rough equipment. The content.
I think it's exciting because they got everything about me wrong, and I just feel like I'm part of a club now of people get to say like, "Ooh, something was written about me," and I get to be really pissed off because it's totally wrong.
None of it was wrong. Well, we'll get to that. I quoted her like verbatim in something.
And I need to contact him and tell him that he is an idiot. And I also want to say that
I've emailed
18,
her since then.
If you reduce it in
she
basic
was actually
numerology,
very
is
nice
9, and 9 is a completion number, which means we're coming to the end of some kind of cycle, which means that now we can get excited at the beginning of a new cycle of whatever. And so let's all just keep that in mind and just be prepared for a transition, because all of us are truthers. All of us care about the exploration for true knowledge and what is correct. And for that, the 9 is sometimes represented with the ego. And so let's all give ourselves a pat on the back for using our brains
No
Way
and
to
idea
go.
what she's
being on the
talking
path
about.
to
No idea
freedom
what she's-
because knowledge is freedom.
Not a clue.
Absolutely.
agree.
So here's what happened. A lot of things happened in the last couple days.
Actually-
Number one, we were going to have Santos Bonacci be.
I appeared on this podcast. After they finished reading it, they had me on. I'm going to see if I can get the vlog for that. I was on the show for like.
The new host of the Baby Truther show. He just no-showed today. So I think we're going to have to pass on Santos. We kind of talked
Maybe
about
he was conspiring with David Weiss, and David Weiss was like, "You can't do this to me, Santos."
Probably.
It's
Whoa,
not
I didn't
in
think
line
about
with
that.
I didn't think about that.
Mystosyncretism.
Wow, what if he sabotaged
forward
ass
this.
baby truther apology? I'm not going to accept that. I'm not. It's unacceptable in my mind. That's all I'll say if David's listening.
I agree. I'm sure he's listening. Very jealous he's not here.
I
I'm
hope
sure.
he's not. I wish we could block him. I wish I had his
I don't know how to
IP
do
address
that.
so I could
I
block
gotta
him.
figure out
I
how to
don't
do
know
that.
either. I'm not that good of a tech person, but if I could, he would be blocked.
Yes. So we're going to be doing just a few more minutes here at the YouTube, and then we'll be going over to Rock.
People would probably say it's like not okay or some bullcrap like that. Okay.
They will?
He probably got the information.
Here we go.
Yes. So far the article's perfect.
So this is
Love
written
it.
by a
Leonard's
guy
Baby
named
Truth
Paul
Talk.
Mulholland, who's a nice.
That's me. That's me. Anyway, QAnon is Baby Truth Chuck. You can't see it because he's got my name. I made that thumbnail myself in Photoshop. Very proud of it. It took me about 10 minutes. For those of you who can't tell, it is a Q around the Teletubby baby's face. So the Baby Truth Chuck, it's a reference to their show, the Baby Truth Show. Prop the top off a bit. There we go. Much better. So anyway, the idea of baby trutherism comes from a former friend of theirs named RV Truth, flat earther. The idea that baby trutherism is people who are kind of truthers, kind of conspiracy theorists, but not really. Like RV has one saying where he's like, you got 1 foot in truth and 1 foot in illusion. So this is people who may accept some conspiracy theories, but not others. Or in my terminology, baby trutherism is basically pro-political, living the politics. And so QAnon is an example of that because it accepts that when an election is stolen, that it's unusual instead of always, and that it can be unstolen through direct political act. That's a pro-political stance that, among others, they don't have. Right? They thought the election was. Well, of course, the election was fixed. There's nothing you can do about it. Storming a Capitol is not going to change it, right? Because it's already decided.
This guy, he
Did he call me a nice
is
guy?
a patron.
So far the article's perfect.
So this is
Love
written
it.
by a guy named Paul Mulholland, who's a nice guy.
That's true.
He is a patron, so I really.
So let me explain that. So I am a patron of Alex Stein's Patreon, not because I am a flat earther, but because he kindly offered to teach me how to stream for the cost of $10. So at the time I was a patron. I got a lot more than $10 worth out of the stream. So anyway, that's the context.
Really support that. I appreciate that. But he's into like the truth community. He's into flat earth. So let's just give it a go.
Well,
it's okay
I
if you
didn't
don't
know
understand.
that.
So Alex at the time thought I was a flat earther. I didn't tell him that I was, and I didn't give him any indication that I was. I think it was just because I was nice to him. But that's not true. It is true that I am into flat earth, but only as a reporter.
He probably got the information accidentally wrong. Then
I don't
about
know.
me.
Well, let's see. I don't.
No, I was not accidentally or intentionally
I don't
wrong.
even
None of
hear
it was
the
wrong.
context of what he said. It's a 12-minute read, but let's get going. It's okay if you don't understand the title, and the title is QAnon is Baby Truth or Talk. It's okay if you don't understand the title. I'll get you there. Some of you will surely understand the vague idea of what the QAnon conspiracy theory is. If you don't, the spark notes of it is this: Donald Trump is battling a global network of Satan-worshipping pedophiles that includes most of Hollywood and the DC elite. The conspiracy community has many side plots and offshoots, but that's the soul of it. Q belief systems are one of the best examples of what I would call pro-political conspiracies. The broadest way of classifying conspiracy theories is to sort them into pro-political and anti-political conspiracy theories. The angry and paranoid gap between them is defined by how they conceptualize mass politics. For my personal definition and understanding of conspiracy theories, read the link below. And this is the link of his. So, Pro-political conspiracy theories accept some of the publicly discussed mass politics as actually happening, but might speculate on motives or other events happening outside public view. They also assume that the presence of political competition to varying degrees. This means they assume that though political parties often cooperate and self-deal, there is some amount of competition that occurs between and within them, and it can be worthwhile to promote one large political faction over another. And real quick, how I can
So this is what this is effectively saying is that political conspiracy theories, which there's a lot of other examples. So you could take the JFK conspiracy, or actually that's not. But what pro-political conspiracy theories do is that they assume most of mass politics true. There's just things going on closed doors, and that there is real competition, right? So Republicans and Democrats aren't the same thing, even though they may have similarities, they may cooperate and self-deal. That there is some level of competition going on. Once you accept that, you accept politics and any conspiracy theory. Political. So QAnon, again, the best example, assumes that there is a real difference between Republicans and Democrats, or between real conservatives and rhinos. That's genuine competition that exists. So they're political.
can prove that's true because he's going to say, "Oh, you're pro-political, so I'm such a baby truther talk." But it's like what they used to do is class. They used to, "Oh, the best class gets to have a pizza party at the end of the month or whatever." That's the same thing they do with these, politicians. It's like whatever the left wing and the right wing, they get them together. It doesn't matter. They can easily pin the action, even though they're on the same team. I'm saying, like, even though the left and the right are on the same team, they can still want to compete within themselves. Being on the same team, that happens. That they can create competition. It's like on the football team. I was battling with the other tight ends or the other offensive linemen to start. It's like, even though you're on the same team, just because you're on the same team with somebody doesn't necessarily mean you're not battling with them. But that's
right. So assuming any level of political competition within or between parties is pro-political. This is kind of what sets Alex Stein apart from.
Let me get to the article. Sorry about that. They likewise accept the different branches of the federal government compete against one another, and that foreign states compete against each other, including against the United States. Most importantly, they believe in contingency and that their actions can significantly influence political outcomes. Though they can be extremely cynical, they have political confidence and efficacy. Storming the Capitol could, in theory, overturn a fraudulent election outcome, since although there is a conspiracy against Trump, the future can be changed by direct political action. And then the second category.
Yeah, so this all it's saying is that there was a conspiracy that the election was stolen, but you could change it, right? You could actually change it. A lot of others don't think there's any. That's why they don't vote in the first place. Hate and politics, all normal.
Category I naturally call anti-political conspiracy theories. This is not to say that they are apolitical, which they assuredly are not. They reject the assumptions of the pro-political truthers. Instead, they take it for granted that nearly all, or sometimes exactly all, of widely discussed political events is staged by them, in quotations, which can be Masons, the Illuminati, or other institutions such as the deep state.
Right, so anti-political conspiracy theorists are not apolitical. Right, so someone who thinks, for example, that the earth is flat, that's not without political implications, right? It's not non-political or apolitical. But to the extent that it rejects the existence of political competition or political contingency, it is anti-political, right? It is against politics, out politics.
Political bodies do not compete against one another, though there may be some individual dissent within ruling institutions. All parties, states, institutions, and other political bodies that appear to oppose one another are actually cooperating and orchestrating politically salient events together.
I believe it.
Okay. Anti-political truthers have low political efficacy and are skeptical of contingency, and their in real life efforts to move politics in their direction are usually less dramatic and determined than pro-political truthers, which is true because I go and talk. I feel like I do. I feel like I personally can change the needle, so that's why I'm a baby truther. This is why Stop the Steal and QAnon conspiracy theorists stormed the Capitol, why flat earthers and 9/11 truthers did not. Even though it would seem to me the second pair of more to be upset about, which is true. I agree with that.
Well, thanks, Alex, for being so kind. But yeah, what that's saying is 9/11 truthers Flat Earthers, they have more grievances than Stop the Steal people, because the impact of having been lied about the shape of the Earth and all that comes from that. Because Flat Earthers believe that the shape of the Earth is concealed in large part to conceal the Creator. That a god or something, some divine creator, created the flat Earth, and that's why the shape of the Earth is concealed. That's why they go through all this trouble. At least that's the primary reason. Other theories put forward. That this is more damaging and more of a flagrant lie than a stolen election. So you can't use mere grievance and the intensity of someone's anger or I guess the extent of their grievance to explain why they would take such a dramatic action as storming the Capitol. You also need a belief that politics is contingent and can be changed through direct action, which flat earthers very rarely have. But Stop the Steal, QAnon, etc., this umbrella, they do believe that, right? They say things like keep fighting, keep posting, keep up the fight, that you can move the needle. Now, flat earthers believe that you can have influence, or they have podcasts, influence public opinion, but you can't really change what policymakers, social them are actually going to direct action.
It adds up that the anti-political conspiracy theorists aren't labeled as extremists or terrorist threats as frequently as their pro-political counterparts. Actual people are more complicated than isolated beliefs, and one person may hold many theories from both categories. Anti-political and pro-political are much better at classifying beliefs and belief systems than they are at classifying believers. Anti-political.
Right, so I'm going to keep pausing. I also keep looking up because I have a second screen up here. I'll try to look forward a bit more often than looking up. So yes, so individuals, they're more complicated than beliefs. A belief can be seen as like maybe one thing in a web of things, but an individual is already a web of things, right? They're already at that. So someone can hold multiple beliefs, and they don't even necessarily contradict each other. You would just have to find out how they think mass politics works, and if that becomes apparent to them, then they may see contradiction, find what they think. But to call a person anti-political or pro-political across the board is uncommon. Most conspiracy theorists will have a mix. Although some are, like RV Truth, which I mentioned later, I think I'll talk about him in the article too, is basically just anti-political across the board. But it is worth talking that an individual does not necessarily have to be one or the other, but a belief or a belief system would.
Truthers can take anti-political worldviews very far, and by pretty far I mean to their logical conclusion. One flat Earth YouTuber, Witsit Gets It, his first name is Austin, and I never caught his last name. It's Witsit. It goes as far as to call.
So none of them got this joke. There's just a flat Earther named Austin Witsit, and never mind. It's just a stupid joke I made that no one got. I know that his last name is Witsit, and I knew at the time, but I'm just not funny.
Well,
that's the problem.
Partisanship is fictitious. That is relatively basic, though. Another who goes by Rose777, who's ironically a co-host on the Baby Truther Show, believes the American Revolution was a scam because the elite wanted another corporation, and she is far from alone.
Wait, when did I ever say that?
So you said it. I have the notes that prove you said it, and you said it on the Baby Truther Show, and I think this comes up. If they have me on the show, I'll see if I can get the. If not, I'll have to just get the original episode.
Every day.
Every day, you're always talking about the American Revolution. You texted me that the other day, I think.
You texted me right after.
The American Revolution was a scam because the elite wanted another corporation.
No, I don't know anything about. That's not what everything. I'm a flat earther, and I.
She said that.
Oh, wait a second. We're on YouTube.
Yeah, but
wait.
I don't know what he's talking about.
He's speaking friendly about you there, though. I think he's speaking. I mean.
Okay, keep going. We'll listen.
Yeah. Okay, like I said, at this point, Alex.
Let's just read that last one. Another who goes by Rose777, who is ironically a co-host on the Baby Truther Show, meaning you're not.
And he doesn't. What is that? Why is that ironic?
Because that means you're not a Baby Truther. Believes the American Revolution was a scam because
not a Baby Truther. That's why it's ironic.
Another corporation, and she is far from alone. So you don't believe that the American Revolution is maybe just like the British just creating another company and a new world order type country?
Yeah, I think that everything was pre-planned. The long.
So she
game,
does
there
believe
was
it.
No American Revolution. It was just a
So, like,
transfer.
So far, he's
I
right.
never said that, but I'll say it
The
now.
Templar were over there doing the shit, organizing shit. They knew what the revolution was.
I haven't said that
I don't
yet,
know
but
why
I
I'm
was
triggered
thinking it.
then. If
I don't know
Shouldn't
why
be triggered.
either. I don't know.
Help
You're
me.
got a short fuse. Okay, let's finish it already. Denying that the American Revolution represented a political change of any significance is a very far-reaching and internally consistent denial of political competition. Another anti-political truther whose YouTube channel is called RV Truth, RV stands for Russian videos, just makes me laugh.
Thank you.
Agrees with this interpretation of the revolution. He also said on a live stream recently that popular music that appears dissident, such as that made by Michael Jackson, actually isn't, and contains satanic and Masonic messaging. If it were a dissident, you would not have heard it. Okay, real.
Yeah, so RV, RV Truth, Russian Video Truth. I don't know where that name Russian Videos come from. He's not Russian. I don't think it's an allusion to Russiagate because his channel is older than that. I don't know what the joke. This is like a very thorough rejection of politics. Even to say that in pop culture, the dissident music could not exist because if it were truly dissident, you wouldn't be able to hear it, right? So this argument assumes the conclusion that everything is controlled and says if there is music that appears dissident, it's because there's something else in it, right? There's Masonic imagery or satanic messaging. And so it has this illusion of being dissident to attract people, to attract anti-conformists, but actually keep them as conformists. So RV's very thorough about his doesn't really have any chinks in his armor.
Quick, I want to just say about RV. Everybody has to go listen to RV's latest show with Martin Lidkey.
You do not have to listen to
I drove this girl I'm dating, Hannah. We drove from 16 hours straight. I drove the whole way. The last 3 hours, I was so tired. I put that thing on. I was glued to it at night till 1 a.m. So everybody go listen to RV and Martin Lidkey's interview. But back to this. If I were a dissident, you would not have heard it. All anti-political conspiracy theorists think any in real life expression of political dissent is orchestrated or even completely staged. The George Floyd demonstrations and Capitol siege were clearly both fake. I'm not equating the two here. Anti-political truthers equate them in their fakeness. Wielders of political.
So when I say the George Floyd demonstrations and Capitol siege clearly fake, I'm paraphrasing them. All right, I'm not saying that's what I believe. All right, I think that's where some of the confusion was from. I wrote this assuming my reader would know that I wasn't a conspiracy theorist. They don't have that assumption, so they think that I'm literally saying that because I believe it, right? And when I'm trying to speak for them as I understand them, I do not think the George Floyd demonstrations were staged. Right? I covered them in Brooklyn. I didn't have any reason to believe they were staged. The Capitol riot similarly was not staged. I was also there as a reporter, not as a rioter or sieger on January 6th, 2020. My film of that, actually, I sold the rights to Fort Fisher on News to Share. So you can go check that out if you want. Also not staged. They were really mad about the election being stolen in their minds, which I don't believe was stolen either. That's what they believe. Talking about them again, right? So don't get that. Sometimes I speak for conspiracy theorists in the article to make a point, right? Not necessarily what I believe. In fact, it basically is.
Political power do not infight, and no large political movements come about without elite permission and support. There are no organic movements. Sky Bear, shut up!
Actually, one flattering thing about the fact that Alex can't tell that I'm not a conspiracy theorist from reading this means that on some level I am representing his views correctly, right? Because he thinks that I am a conspiracy theorist. Rose can't really tell. Jaron's a bit sharper. Later on, he'll be able to tell that I'm not. But they don't really reject this. Like a lot of times they're nodding their head saying, yeah, that sounds about right to me. So incredibly flattered. It was very kind of them to agree with me and to read the article out loud.
There are no organic movements because that would both require and create political contingency. A pro-political truther might say, and indeed many have, that Antifa or other provocateurs, sometimes the FBI, sabotage what it would have been an otherwise peacefully rally. I won't say that. Notice the political assumptions required to believe this. There is a worldview informing this conspiracy. The speaker accepts that there is a political grouping called Antifa that exists in opposition to Trump supporters. They also, Sky Bear, accept Sky Bear! God, I can't read.
So he's screaming at his cat. Alex owns like 10 cats, and he has one named Sky Bear who's apparently really annoying. Whatever. So that's why he screams Sky Bear like a maniac. Anyway, so if you have a conspiracy theory that this Capitol siege was aggravated or set up or either intensified to a small degree or completely manufactured by Antifa or other left-wing provocateurs, or even by federal law enforcement such as the FBI, this is a pro-political conspiracy theory because it accepts political competition. It accepts that there is a political grouping called Antifa that opposes Trump supporters, whereas an anti-political conspiracy theorist would say they're all just crisis actors at stage, or at least orchestrated, that the heads of these organizations are on the same side, and it's all just theater, some kind of psyop for some kind of psychological purpose, but it's not genuine competition. The same goes for the FBI, right? The FBI isn't responding to something that they had limited insight into for good faith law enforcement purposes. They infiltrated it and made it happen in the first place, right? It was a false flag. That it was done proactively and not reactively. So to think that is to assume competition and a contingency that the FBI could be caught off guard. There you go.
When you're in my face like that, they also accept that a rally is in theory worthwhile since political outcomes are not determined. It assumes genuine competition and genuine contingency and is therefore pro-political.
This guy could have shortened this by about 20 paragraphs.
I know. Here, where the fuck is... Okay, look.
Yeah, I could have, maybe, but I didn't because I had a lot to say, and I don't know. I know it's long, but it's all important. Okay.
But here,
Jared.
I saw Ashley Babbitt. What does it say? Did I transfer my name in there?
Let's just go through. I know you're in here. Let's just go through. I know that I hope people aren't sleeping at home. Are they bored?
This is what happens with YouTube when you can only basically read articles.
See, now they're dunking.
Have opinions.
It's a good article, guys.
Okay. Anti-political truthers scoff at all of this. The outcome of the 2020 election was known ahead of time. Antifa are paid actors. They refuse to believe in genuine political competition and the contingency implied by it. Mark Sargent, one of America's leading flat earthers, told me the Capitol siege was mostly, if not entirely, choreographed. Ashley Babbitt's death was specifically staged, and other truthers such as his host Karen B. agreed.
Wait, stop. If the writer watching us right now, you should contact me and talk and write an article about me, and then I can rate it for accuracy. That will be so much fun.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Contact her.
Maybe I did. I do have her email.
Covering the Capitol riot, I did not see Ashley Babbitt get shot myself. Eyewitnesses did direct me to the area.
It's a shame. The worst thing I dislike most about Rose is that she has a boyfriend, a real cutie, and she's a crazy flat earther. That's nice.
Pictures of a trail of blood that eyewitnesses told me was from Babbitt's lifeless body. I also have a video of police performing CPR on her, which originated from an eyewitness.
Yes, that was sent to me.
Exclude both from this article, but can provide them on request. So I guess he believes
that request still stands, by the way.
The Capitol siege was a planned stunt to do any of the following: further divide the country, justify the Biden presidency, to justify further militarization of the police, or to make Trump supporters look insane, which would somehow give more credibility to the vaccine or mask mandate enforcement. Though, what is the goal?
Aaron's still nodding.
This question comes up a lot when listening to anti-political truthers. The most visible break between the two categories lies in anti-political truthers and just Q adherents understand former President Trump. Q adherents view Trump as a savior-like figure fighting secretly against the cabal. Anti-political truthers, which include many, if not most, flat earthers, would remark that Trump is part of the cabal. At times...
Yes, so the status of Trump is key in this distinction between... anti-political cannot accept that a president would be outside the system, and in some ways they're correct about this because he was, a politically tied billionaire. But if he appears dissident or outside the system, that it can only be appearances. He's not actually. So then you have to reconcile that. Q adherents or QAnons, or you just call them anon. Don't do that, right? They assume that the competition is genuine.
Anti-political truthers openly mock Q and conspiracies that portray Trump as a hero. The aforementioned Austin Whitsitt, so he knows his last name there. That's confusing.
Yes,
And he said earlier he didn't know his name.
I know it. I knew it the whole
His
time.
actual last name, so maybe that's why.
Okay.
But it performs a character named Baby Q Austin, where he parodies Trump supporters. So this guy is a fan of the show.
He watches the
obviously.
show, obviously.
Yeah, I aforementioned Austin.
I watch the show all the
performs
time.
A character named Baby Q Austin, where he parodies Trump supporters and Q adherents. The joke is essentially that Q adherents trust politicians such as Trump and DeSantis and look to conventional politics for solutions, which it says Trump is the most likely candidate to be the Antichrist.
Yeah, so Austin Whitsitt, he's just another flat earther, general conspiracy theorist. There's hardly a conspiracy you could think of that he doesn't at least have a sympathy for. He does a character called Baby Q Austin, where he comes on and he pretends to be a QAnon supporter. He calls into the show, and it's just a parody. You know, he's because they think they're stupid. Flat earthers think QAnon people are stupid, and the feeling's mutual too. I talk about that in the article. That they do have a sense that there is a distinction between.
I like this. All right. Karen B., a co-host on two conspiracy shows, one with famous flat earther Mark Sargent and the other Brian Stavely, has said that the point of Trump was merely to encourage Republicans to get vaccinated. The appearance of elite partisanship is fake and itself part of the conspiracy. Democrats and Republicans do not actually oppose each other. Trump was selected to be president because Trump is trusted by many anti-vaxxers. So when he endorses COVID vaccines, it carries weight with him, in theory. The anti-political.
So that ended up. So that's their theory, not mine, by the way. That ended up not really being true, or only being true to a limited extent. It's possible that some Republicans did get vaccinated because it was made under the Trump administration, etc. Although I don't really have data on that. But I know that Republican influencers now that Trump has vocally endorsed taking the vaccine, most notably Candace Owens, are panicking about that, and even trying to either disavowing Trump, not in Candace Owens' case, or doing everything possible to avoid disavowing them because they feel pressure to do so. So there's limited truthness to the assumption that to arguing that Trump was selected because he has credibility with anti-vaxxers. Therefore, when he endorses the vaccine, anti-vaxxers will get vaccinated. It doesn't seem to be true. It's only true. Agree.
Truthers understand QAnon as being a conspiracy itself. Sargent remarks that Q is a designer-made conspiracy subgroup for the Republican Party, and that hardcore truthers saw this immediately. I had to call into Stavely's show to speak with him since he doesn't answer formal inquiries. He tells me that all big-name...
Yeah, so I've tried to contact Brian Stavely. Brian Stavely is just another flat earther and conspiracy theorist. His specialty is the Mandela effect, which is just that, like, when you have a false memory or you misremember something, that it's not actually a false memory. That it's literally been changed. So for example, if you remember the Monopoly guy wearing a monocle, he's never actually worn a monocle in this reality, as Brian would say. So you're not misremembering it because there's too many people who are misremembering it to be a false memory. It has to have been a genuine change. And so I've never heard him explain where he thinks this comes from. I do have to ask him that. Sometimes I just haven't listened to enough of the show to know. But he does think it's supernatural. I think he speculated that it might be God trying to signal to us that we're in a false reality. Or I don't know if I've heard him say this, but I've heard others speculate that it could be people in charge just mocking us or making changes for reasons. But anyway, that's who Brian Stavely is, and he's definitely an anti-truther.
Conspiracy theories are controlled opposition, designed to silo off the conspiratorially minded so that they don't pursue real truth like the Mandela effect. Stavely's specialty. He adds that very few people have come to Flat Earth from Q, and on the whole, it has been bad for the truth movement. I agree.
But
The
I
amount
think
of media
that probably
crossover
is
between
true.
the two, I don't know if it's
It's
bad.
Not that many. Yeah, so I talked to Brian about this when I called in the show. I couldn't introduce myself. It's true as far as I can tell that there's not a lot of cross between Flat Earth and Q. And that's for the the reasons that they live in different media environments. They have a different conception of mass politics. As far as I can tell, it is true. I know there are few influencers who are sympathetic to Flat Earth. I think Ghost Ezra is one, but I'm a bit less familiar with the Q community than I am with the community. And then there's others that aggressively mock them, like Jordan Sather. don't want Q to be affiliated with Flat Earth at all, which is fair enough.
Because it brought up a bunch of satanic pedophile stuff or whatever. The amount of media crossover between the two camps does seem to be limited. From personal observation only, I've heard anti-political truthers and people in their live comments say that they heard of Q for the first time from the regular news. The largest crossover conspiracy between them that I can see are those related to vaccines and COVID, in which their views are nearly exactly the same, except, of course, on whether or not Trump is part of the problem. Sargent confirms independently of Stavely that he knows of only a few flat earthers that came from Q. I can hear some of these people calling into his weekly radio show sometimes to tell him that God gave us Trump and that Democrats are all communists and these are friendly callers.
So Mark Sargent hosts a show, a radio show once a week. He's after the death of Mike Hughes, Rocket Man, which I also have a YouTube video on. You should watch. So I interviewed him as well. Mark Sargent is probably the next most famous flat earther. He's the most famous who's alive now. He was the main guy in Behind the Curve. I said that already. He was on some like car insurance commercial or credit card commercial or something. It was like so easy a flat earther could do it. I don't know that thing. And he has a weekly show, and so people, and he's anti-political because he's a flat earther. But friendly callers will still call into his show and flirt with you. Say things about Nancy Pelosi, which no flat earther would give a shit about Nancy Pelosi. But there are less ideological viewers of the show who jumble these things up. How could you like Trump if you think he started Space Force, right? As he said, the Earth is flat, right? So he's part of the problem. If you're a consistent flat earther, you have to have some sense of income. Or just not be aware of the.
Sargent tells me that with all Trump has done with Space Force and the vaccine, that pro-Trump flat earthers shouldn't be able to exist, which I agree with Mark now. But he tells me he has friends who think that is all a ruse to eventually arrest Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats,
several months ago.
They're never going to happen. Several conspiracy theory shows have their own vernacular for what I am describing. Beliefs that suggest contingency or competition are mocked as baby truther talk, hence the title. RV in particular loves this phrase, and another beautiful phrase, coincidence theorists. Beliefs that suggest total elite control and therefore no competition nor contingency are dismissed as auto-hoaxing for their tendency to immediately deduce that everything is a hoax. The auto-hoaxer, the Jaron Cohen. QAnon, which dotes over real politicians and sees opportunities in conventional politics, is of course baby truther talk. Okay, all I see is a nation of brainwashed idiots falling for the divide and conquer agenda. You know what I'm going to say? Both parties suck. The government is corrupt. They're all cheering for a bunch of rich pedophiles who don't care about anyone but themselves. I agree. Occasionally, one can hear the pro-political truthers fire back. Jordan Sather, a Q influencer on his podcast, mocks flat Earth and believes we landed on the moon. His affection for Trump actually helps keep him tethered to reality in some respects. Trump support makes one more susceptible to some conspiracy theories and less so for others. Most people who believe in one conspiracy believe kind of a dead giveaway. Contradictions between.
That's a dead giveaway. If you still think I'm a conspiracy theorist after you read that, affection for Trump actually helps keep him tethered to reality in some. And this is supposed to be like ironic, you know. You would expect being a Trump supporter would keep you further from reality, but in this case, it's giving you closer. That's me showing my hand.
Between these theories aren't always seen by many conspiracy theorists, but sometimes they are. Believing in one won't necessarily lead to believing in another. Some conspiracy theories. Okay, here we go. Now we're finally here. Some conspiracy theories can actually block someone from accepting others if they see the contradictions between them. That is the nature of mass politics. The dividing line between pro and anti-political conspiracy theories is perhaps the most common source of contradiction that I see. In individual believers, though, this neat divide becomes blurry. If a conspiracy theorist does not see the tension between the two categories, they can easily hold multiple pro and anti-political conspiracy theories as true simultaneously. The talk show host and another co-host of the Baby Truther show, Alex Stein, is a great case study here.
Hold on. Let's stop here. Let's take a
So Alex Stein is the guy talking. Bottom right, by the way. I think I've said that before.
Break for a moment before we get into this amazing part of the article. I am an idiot. I don't know.
You don't
why
say that,
I
Rose.
must have came in. This is a vignette. Everybody observe. I came into this with some kind of preconceived notion of defense. I was defensive, and I was looking at every single word of this article with a twisted view. This writer is awesome. I love this guy.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Also, that she could say that. I'm gonna blow up my own ego here. That she would say that. Thank you, Rose, for your kind words. Shows that I actually do care. I pay attention. I know what I'm talking about. Right? I know a lot about these people and what they believe, and I see them, and they are seen by me. Yes, this made me very happy to hear. I think you're awesome too, Rose.
Mulholland.
I was wrong.
Yeah, well, you didn't.
Don't be so hard.
I just read a paragraph of it. How you didn't even context of the article. So the talk show and other co-hosts of the Baby Truther show, Alex Stein is a great case study here. Unlike all other truthers, I've actually been able to track his career since about the time it first began. I watched him move gradually from a pro-political to anti-political. When Alex Stein first started broadcasting live over YouTube, I don't recall exactly when, but it's been at least a year. He definitely supported Trump and thought ordinary.
Right, yeah. So Alex Stein is the only truther where I remember seeing. I think I've seen his first show or his first shows. So I saw him kind of move along. All these other guys like Jaron Rose, I started watching them after they'd been around for a couple of years, at least a few months. With Alex, I got him right away, and so that's why he's a good case study for me, because I've actually seen him make this jump from, or it wasn't a jump, it was a gradual move from pro-political. He used to complain about Nancy Pelosi all the time. He used to complain about Black Lives Matter all the time. He liked Trump. He said a few times I fell really hard for Trump, and then he gradually moves away from. He starts to going on. He starts to see Trump as part of the problem, and I saw this happen gradually on his shows. And sometimes he would come back, and he'd start bitching about Black Lives Matter again. Just regular like white conservative stuff, just regular Newsmax shit. But then he gradually kind of let that go. He matured, in a sense, as a truther. To instead of having anti-political and pro-political, he has now become almost entirely anti. But you'll see when he reads this article that he still has some
politics is worth talking about. He would often whine about Nancy Pelosi and BLM. He would later admit to RV Truth that he fell hard for Trump. He has told me that he stopped liking Trump after he became a vaccine salesman, and he has repeated this line multiple times. I personally suspect that he was ridiculed by his truther friend.
Alex is about a year ahead. Well, actually, no. This was back in August. So he's about 4 months ahead of Candace Owens, at least. Because he stopped supporting Trump when he started becoming a vaccine salesman. So he had to be about a year of Operation Warp Speed, a bit more than so Candace Owens is coming around. Alex Stein's position on vaccines, Trump. We'll see if she gets there. I don't know if she'll come around on Flat Earth too, I suspect.
For Trump support, and that in this
play, by the cult, ridiculed by the cult.
I was ridiculed by you and David.
The cult,
last February, Stein told one of his guests who believes in Q that Q is kind of BS, and Stein is usually very accommodating.
He was ridiculed ruthlessly by
Stein's dropping support for Trump is a sign that he has matured as a truther in a way. He has seen the problem with believing that vaccines are toxic, the earth is flat, and that 9/11 was an inside job, and also supporting Trump, who started Operation Warp Speed, founded the Space Force, and hasn't provided proof that 9/11 was an inside job.
Correct.
He metamorphized from a baby truth caterpillar into a mere list of opinions to allow a paranoid butterfly with a conspiracy worldview. When Trump support conflicted that worldview, he stopped supporting him.
I don't like it. But anyway, just go ahead.
You don't like Paul, or you don't like Trump?
Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I like you, Jaron, for what it's worth. But that's me showing my hand again. I call him a loud paranoid butterfly. I'm clearly not a conspiracy theorist. I just get them.
Okay, you don't like Paul.
I still talk to Alex.
Okay, well, I like this. Okay,
I talked to Jaron after this too. He was just confused.
Talking about you. So you're about to go.
I'll decide.
He metamorphized.
Let's hold our opinions.
Let's hold the opinions. Let's not judge a book by its first 50 pages.
Wow. Yeah. When Trump support. Okay. Wow.
I wish you liked me as much as I like you.
He keeps some of his old pro-political intuitions, and these are shared by another Baby Truther show co-host.
Wait, what is shared? I don't understand. Maybe I don't understand writing. What is shared?
That you and I do think. I guess some things are real, but
okay,
Alex is interesting for another reason.
That is what it is.
That is pro-political. Like we think some stuff's real. Like maybe a small election could be real.
When I say that Jaron shares some of Alex Stein's and this I guess was a bit vague. What I'm talking about is what Alex says, is that they both believe that some things are real, meaning like maybe George Floyd's murder wasn't staged. Maybe he really was killed by a racist. Just things that stuff that Jaron and Alex will speculate. It's, they'll have this phrase that sometimes things do happen. Right? This is a pro-political assertion that politics exist, and Jaron and Alex do share these intuitions. Rose and the other co-host who isn't there for that advice don't. They're very anti-political.
I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for myself. But maybe that's what he's heard you and I say.
Okay.
Maybe you and I've said that.
Continue.
It's money that makes the world go round.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't breathe. I'm infected with something. One way this
Rona.
I think I have HIV.
Probably.
One way this is expressed is in the question, do things actually happen? Or the statement, hey, sometimes things actually happen. This formulation means that sometimes politically important and widely known events happen on their own, meaning without deliberate elite planning. Jaron once asked on the show in reference to the theory that Kobe Bryant faked his death, is Kobe playing in Diego Garcia or in the clouds? Besides being one of the more hilarious and questions I've heard asked, it also crystallizes the internal truth or debate on Bryant's death. Stein has argued that sometimes things, such as the death of Kobe Bryant, aren't controlled. More tellingly, he believes that
right. So their friends, hang on, back up. Other friends of the show think that Kobe Bryant clearly. And Jared would object to this and say, okay, so then where is he? Is he just on an island? And the only island that they have in mind is Diego Garcia, which is air base operated by the U.S. and UK. It's the only island they have when they say, oh, he's on an island. The only island they can appeal to. That's why when he's asking, is he playing in Diego Garcia, meaning he faked his death and is on an island somewhere, or is he playing in the clouds because he really is dead? You kind of have to be, involved in this shit to see the humor in that. But this is the argument over Kobe Bryant's death. Now you could say, well, why would he fake his death? And there really is no good reason. And so Jaron would bring this up. It's like, he has kids. What is he hanging out with his daughter and not the rest of his family for some reason? Like, what's the point of that? And anti-political truthers have various responses to this. He faked, either he was assassinated because he was going to reveal some information from the elite or something, or he just got tired of it and wanted to retire from his life as a permanent actor, so he gets to go to an island or something. Or maybe there's just some purpose that we're just unaware of. But if it's in the mainstream media and everyone knows about it, it has to be a psyop. There's no way that the media are just incompetent idiots trying to fill up a 24-hour news timeline and just need something, right? If it's not Harambe's death, it's going to be Kobe Bryant's death, right? That can't be the solution. It has to be a psyop. It has to be doing something, which means that Kobe Bryant most likely is not dead. And so this is like a real debate they had for a while after Kobe Bryant's death. Was it staged or not?
It also crystallizes the internal truth or debate on Bryant's death. Stein has argued that sometimes things, such as the death of Kobe Bryant, aren't controlled. More tellingly, he believes that countries exist. Stein has proposed that China might expose the U.S. and use various conspiracy theories as blackmail against him. When Stein says that China might have some serious blackmail in the U.S., he is assuming political competition at a high level. He is, in other words, still a baby truther in his heart.
Okay, so he's going to get into this more. The reason why this is important is because assuming that countries exist and saying what he says, that China has blackmail in the U.S. and might expose them, assumes that China and the U.S. are not on the same side. Duh. Right? That the countries don't exist in any meaningful sense of the word. So, and in the next paragraph I get into this. This is sometimes an argument I make against, in particular, 9/11 truth. So, does Iran know that? Does Korea know? Does Russia and China know? Syria know? Because if they do, why don't they produce evidence to journalists to prove that, or just to the American public? They haven't really made an attempt, as far as I know. Why doesn't Venezuela? Right? These are countries that don't have good relations with the United States, to say the least. So this works on pro-political truthers, because they assume that countries exist, and they assume that there are politics, that there are countries that exist in contrast to the United States, which is what Alec is talking about. So the reason why that would work on pro-political truth, or not work in the sense that they would not necessarily give them pause, because you're taking someone who has an adversarial relationship with the United States, and they share that assumption that, say, a country like Russia has an adversarial relationship with the United States, and you ask, well, why don't when Russia gets sanctioned by the U.S., why don't they retaliate with 9/11? Right, because that would be a potent source of retaliation. And especially if China did it, the U.S. couldn't really do anything about it. Was the U.S. gonna nuke China if they say that 9/11 was an inside job? But this argument does not work in anti-political conspiracy theorists, because they would say, China, U.S., what? It's all just one world government. Yes, the people who administer China on a day-to-day basis, maybe not day-to-day, but so President Xi, for example, would know that 9/11 is an inside job, but he doesn't care to share it because he benefits from the same system. It's basically impossible to imagine that Xi wouldn't know if you're an anti-political conspiracy theorist. He wouldn't have known his whole life, but since he's been important, he would know, and he benefits from not sharing that information for whatever reason. You can speculate on what that might be. So when Alex takes the other approach, pro-political, he's moving away from that, or he's kind of actually moving the other direction, but he's rejecting those assumptions.
I agree with that.
Okay. I've used the same template to form arguments against 9/11 truthers.
Here's me showing my hand again for the third time.
You call their attention.
See, so he's not. He watches our show, but he wants to debate 9/11 truthers.
Yeah. So Jaron isn't an idiot. He is a flat earther, but he's not an idiot. So he catches shit like this, and he knows. Yeah, I think he's the only one who read the article. We're going to show a fourth guy, actually, Austin Whitsitt, who I quote in the article twice. Also read this article on a show for like 5 minutes, and I'm probably going to show that too. Another flat earther. Austin somehow thought I was a QAnon guy from it, which is the most bizarre thing to take away from this article, that I am pro QAnon. But Jaron's the only one who read this and understood that I was not a conspiracy theorist at all. I don't know what that says.
No, I think he's a 9/11 truther. I think he's talking about 9/11 truthers.
I used to have the same template to form arguments against 9/11 truthers when I am in the mood to debate them.
Which I rarely am.
That's so interesting.
Listen. Let's
okay, keep going.
Not really.
I'm judging too early. Rose is back and forth. Rose went from hating him, loving him. Now she's just.
I'm not back and forth on Rose. Rose is a babe.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
I'm not that
Paul
funny,
is
but
not
thanks.
a comedian, so I don't know. This is really written dry. He's
Okay.
kind of a dry guy.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Very dry.
You call their attention to political
Dry
actors who might
sand.
be opposed to the United States security establishment, investigative journalists, whistleblowers, and most importantly, foreign states. Does China know 9/11 was an inside job? How about Iran? Wouldn't this be potent source of blackmail? This is not a foolproof argument by any stretch, since it proves little to fools. You can pull the rug out from under this argument very easily. One only has to reject the underlying assumption that Iran and China exist in contrast to the U.S., and not as actors merely pretending to be opposed to the U.S. interests.
Right. So he's saying that it wasn't an inside job. It's a blatantly obvious long game farce. Everyone's
not what I'm saying. I don't even know how you got that.
Like that America did it to itself, but it's like everyone was.
So he's referring to 9/11 truthers as somebody who says it was Iran, it was Israel, it was this, and okay, got you. Good.
That's not what I'm saying. But that is a separate category of 9/11
Okay,
truth.
I mean, guys, investigative. It's hard to write. Writing's not easy. Investigative journalists and
Fuck
high-minded thinkers
you.
likewise do
It's
not
harder
really
to read,
exist.
apparently.
In other words, this sort of argument can be problematic for pro-political 9/11 truthers, which I kind of am, but is easily brushed off by anti-political 9/11 truthers, which is what y'all are.
Okay.
And individual truthers can defy easy or even consistent classification, but I think I am onto something in classifying beliefs in this way. Pro-political truthers, at least here and now, pose a more accurate threat to public safety and are certainly more likely to vote, participate in real political campaigns, which is true, which is me. So anyway, that was on my mind. Here's a flow chart. So that's what he wrote.
So here's a really wordy flow chart I made.
Here's the flow chart.
Are you anti-political or are you pro-political?
So let's put something, name an event and we'll put it in there. Oh wait, we're on YouTube. Can we talk about O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, okay.
So O.J. Simpson, was the event caused by a lead actor? So we don't know. So then what happens if we say no?
And then we're baby truther assuming it's a conspiracy theory at all, I guess.
Okay.
And so
if we say yes,
did they do it deliberately and voluntarily and approximate consequences?
Yes.
With approximate consequences. Yes. Okay. And if you say no,
baby truther.
You're pro-political. Okay, so you keep going
I
down.
don't like his use of the word elites. I think he should be saying social engineers.
Okay.
Well, that's fair.
Social
think,
engineers
yeah,
are
elites would
hired and
include.
paid for and sometimes part of the elite bloodlines, but I think that generalized term makes
So when evaluating, you got to use this flowchart. This is the only flowchart on the internet that'll tell you if your conspiracy theory is pro-political or anti-political. It's the only I have a monopoly on these flowcharts. So you would start. Hang on, I got to back up.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so was the event caused by elite actors? If the answer is no, it might not even be a conspiracy theory. But if it is, it's pro-political. The next one, did they do it deliberately and voluntarily with approximate consequences in mind? This is to remove the possibility of an accident, that they did it without meaning to. And approximate consequences, meaning it doesn't have to be precise. Right? If they get 90% of what they want, that still counts. And voluntarily means they weren't forced to do it by like conditions outside control, right? They weren't reacting. They did it proactively in their own interest, right? So you have to believe that to be pro-political also, that they did it intentionally with approximate consequences. And then the next step.
If you say no,
baby truth.
You're pro-political. Okay, so you keep going down.
I don't like his use of the word elites. I think he should.
The next one, the event originate from. I'll just let him read.
Be saying social engineers.
Okay.
Well, that's fair.
Social engineers are hired and paid for and sometimes part of the elite bloodlines, but I think that generalized term makes it just sound like more. Yeah.
It's generalized.
Fantastical when it's so logical.
It's supposed to be more
of
an umbrella term.
Even in the case of OJ, in my opinion, the way it was presented to the masses and its effect on human consciousness is what matters the most.
Do you think Nicole Brown Simpson's dead? And what about
Liz, can we talk about that after?
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Of course. Okay. Did the event originate from the elites, or did it merely permit to happen and or manage to exploit an event that occurred? So you say. Right.
So the reason why this is important is to believe that there is no political contingency in conspiracy theory, meaning that elites have total control and there's little to no room for accident or for outside influence. You have to take this other belief that did the event originate with them, or were they exploiting something that happened outside their control? So if something happened outside their control, say you believe that George Floyd protests, there's two ways of believing that, broadly speaking. The first, the anti-political one, which is that the whole death was staged. George Floyd might not even be dead, which most likely isn't. Derek Chauvin isn't even in prison. They're all just actors. And the whole thing originated with the elites. The other way, and this is how I word it, was or did they merely permit it to happen and or manage / exploit an event that occurred outside of control? I know that's word salad. It's a flowchart. Forgive me. But the version of this that applies to George Floyd would be, okay, Derek Chauvin is a real cop. Okay, he really did murder George Floyd, who was a real guy, who really is dead, and Derek Chauvin, who really is in prison. But elites, through media or through other influence, through paying people to protest, not to manufacture the protest, but to increase their size, to put agitators in the police and into the protests themselves, right? So this is exploiting something that happened outside their control to aggravate it or to steer it in a direction that's more favorable to them. So that is a conspiracy theory, but when you assume that something important happened outside their control and that they're merely aggravating an existing situation, that assumes political competition and political contingency, and that's something that important habits could theoretically be outside their control. That's pro-political. So to back up to be anti-political, you have to reject the whole thing. There never was any contingency. There never was any authenticity. There may be some people out there who are genuinely protesting, but the scale of the protests themselves and the coverage of them was all planned. The death was planned, like I said, George Floyd was dead, etc. So you see where that would break apart in the full. Did it originate with the elite, or are they exploiting something that did not originate with them?
No, you're pro-political truther. So you have to take it. If there's any partisan institutional divide of an elite level regarding the event, is this divide the result of sincere disagreement and or differing incentives among the elite?
Yeah, so I know this is wordy. So if there is partisan or institutional difference. So you can see this is in the media, say between CNN or Fox News or something. If there is partisan disagreement on an important event, say the death of George Floyd, is this divide sincere? Is it a result of differing opinion or different incentives? Because if so, that's pro-political. You're assuming political competition at a high level. If this partisan gap is insincere or done in bad faith, or they're acting for some psychological purposes, that's anti-political, because now you're rejecting genuine political competition. They're working towards the same end, using really the same means too, just using different rhetoric, but the same means in the same. So if you think that this partisan gap, say over something like over the death of George Floyd, take just easy examples, Fox News and CNN. If you think that's sincere, but you believe George Floyd's death was staged, that's pro-political, right? If you think it's all fake, anti-political.
And then I guess you say yes, there's a pro. That's which I think. I think the elites can fight each other. I do believe that. Could this event or its consequences have been prevented or meaningfully altered by recourse to conventional politics? And then if I say yes, you're still a baby truther. You say no, this is a true anti-political conspiracy theory. So I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of word salad. The guy worked really hard on it.
I did work hard on it.
And,
I can tell it really makes sense to him.
It makes a hell of a lot of sense.
I just need to get on his level and
understand it. I've worked really hard taking a shit before too, and it still was shit.
Ruthless.
Just saying.
So that's so Paul. So you're saying that was a big piece of shit? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't get anything out of it, but
wow,
it's just me.
Look
Just
at
me.
that, Paul. I didn't get anything. I mean, honestly, I think he's just a fan of our show, and he wrote that and sent that to me. Said I might like it. And so, what are you gonna do? I mean, I don't think it spoke of you unfavorably. You think?
No, I'm not saying for that reason. But you said that he's a fan of the show, and then he's saying that there's. I guess I don't get the thing. Anyway,
I think he's a 9/11 truther. All
right.
9/11's
maybe let's have him on. He can join us he can be our fourth host.
Yeah,
I do join later. I need to find the
vibe.
vibe.
Talk about everything.
This is BTS 18. I gotta find that.
So we have fourth host auditions today. When we do call-ins, you can call in. You get your spin on the slot machine, your chance to win great prizes, and then
I
also
can take a piss.
Show us what you got. Show us what you got. It's a little tryout. Remember tryouts as a kid? Alex, did you just have to go to tryouts?
Yeah, of course.
Get a ground ball hit at you, and then people love you or hate you. All right, and I don't know what else we need to do on YouTube. We got a lot of good things to talk about. We got to talk about Nuremberg and doctors and the vax.
Hey, no. Speaking of baseball tryouts, there's a little conspiracy with that within the elites there. Different dads would throw to different kids differently, like they wanted them to make the team. You know that, Jaron. You know that.
I know it all too well.
Infighting, and they would hit the ground balls to you a little harder to make you look bad. They could hit those. They could hit the ball to you a little bit harder if they didn't want you to look good.
The most proud I was of my dad ever. So remember, I'm going to this one of the best basketball teams, high school basketball teams in California. So I get accepted to the school for basketball.
Gilroy's one of the best?
No, Bellarmine. It's San Jose, this high school I went to. So anyway, I do tryouts for the freshman year. And even on the final weekend, my dad comes up to watch all the scrimmage games. I'm easily the number 2 out of like 4 centers.
I don't know.
Easily number 2. There's one guy way taller than me, way better than me. He's easily number 1. But I usually played to the number 2. So Monday, we're supposed to go find out who made the team. Monday, I show up. I didn't make the team.
Fuck.
So I tell my dad. My dad's just livid. Like, what? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, how'd the other guy make? He's terrible. I don't know. So anyway, a couple days later, I find out that guy's dad supplies the team with jerseys.
And you don't want.
I was on their podcast. Absolutely was. But it's not on the VOD. The BTS 18. 18. Oh, that's fucking Jaranism. 18. Bear with me. We'll get there.
Looting. They were looting with phone service in Manhattan. They're going to be looting. They're going to have a Junior's cheesecake in Brooklyn. They're going to be eating cheesecake within 1 hour of the internet going down.
Well, Alex, I just hope we don't find out. And maybe
I actually went on the
point.
show after.
So frustrating, the people in this world. I swear to goodness. Swear to goodness.
Rose leaves.
No, I was just looking over here. This is, the great guy, Red's Rhetoric, who, knows all things. He says here, but you can still spread COVID even if vaccinated. He says, correct, but since...
Yeah, I also can't show too much of the show on Twitch. Scroll through all this. Oh, here I am. Gorgeous. Gorgeous boy.
All right, thanks so much. We're going to go to... All right, take it easy. And we've got... Oh, by the way, I was...
Bring this shit. Probably killing my G.
Doing this. Wednesday, I've got David Avocado Wolf, which, by the way, he is the only person in the history of life to ever show up at my house with a plastic bag, like a garbage bag.
Fuck. Gotta get a better graphics card. Desktop window manager. Fuck. It's gonna suck if I can't. Alright, well maybe while I allow that to... show you what Austin...
Full of water, plastic bag full of water from a river, and said, "Here's."
I know you told me that. How do you drink from that? I mean, and so you dip the glass in it. How do you? I had
to put it like in a pitcher. Empty the bag into a pitcher and drink it.
So you just poked a hole in the bag and kind of emptied it into a pitcher, basically.
No, I remember we kind of had to like hold one end of the bag and kind of lift it, and it was very difficult, very difficult. But I'll talk to him about it. Also, he has changed my life completely because now it is a staple in this home that we will always have honey. Because of the look he gave me when he made some tea and came up.
Mark Sargent, everything about the Baby Truther show.
You're
not a truther. What the? I call
that's me in the book.
I call bullshit.
So I watch all the free Baby Truthers on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't sub to Rockfin yet. I do have to get around to that. So I watch.
I did later. Fuck, goddamn. Ugh, lame.
All your episodes, as you can probably tell. I think I've missed a couple. Is
Rory
still on?
No, she's gone.
Oh, because
yeah, she had to leave.
She wants you to do an interview.
She wanted to talk to you. Yeah, you got to come on next week. So we'll just talk real quick. We'll just talk real quick.
All right, yeah, if it's killing my GPU. I know it's not responding. All right. Anyway, go back to anyway. This is Mr. Witsit. Witsit gets it. Then gets it with. Fuck. There's a part with me in it. That's the part.
Background. I will also show. All right, so talks about a bunch of us in it. So you guys might have saw this, but this dude wrote a really cool little article here. He talks about a bunch of us in it. Come over here. Let's change the background. All right, so this is QAnon is baby truther talk, and I guess this guy's like probably a big on the QAnon thing.
Yep.
But
I don't know why he thinks that or how he could possibly.
Here we go. Anti-political truthers can take anti-political worldviews pretty far, and by pretty far, I mean to their logical conclusion. One flat Earth YouTuber, Witsit Gets It, his first name is Austin Evercott's last name, Witsit, goes as far as to call voting sinful and says partisanship is fictitious. This is relatively basic, though. Yeah, it's relatively basic. I don't know if this guy has like a little gamma male undertone of sarcasm and subversive wordplay, or if he's just not that good of an author or whatever, because you can tell. I don't know. I didn't actually read this. Maybe he has. I have a feeling he's just clearly that kind of triggered that cues now sarcasm and subversive sinful and says partisanship is fictitious. This is relatively basic, though. Yeah, it's relatively basic. I don't know if this guy has like a little gamma male undertone of sarcasm and subversive
I don't even know what that means.
Wordplay, or if he's just not that good of an author or whatever, because you can tell. I don't know. I didn't actually read this. Maybe he has. I have a feeling he's just clearly that kind of triggered that cues not real. But voting being sinful, I still stick behind that 100%. You're literally complying with the beast system. That's what you're actually giving your support to the beast system. Of course, they name a bunch of our homies in here. You know, Rose 777, the legend that she is, right there. I'm not gonna read all this, but I think they covered this on the Baby Truther show. But pretty funny here. The aforementioned Austin Witsit performs a character named Baby Q Austin, where he parodies Trump supporters and Q adherents. The joke is essentially that Q adherents trust politicians such as Trump and DeSantis and look to conventional politics for solution. Witsit says Trump is the most likely candidate to be the Antichrist. I thought that was so funny, but yeah, that's what I said. You are correct. You are correct, my man. No, Trump is here to save the day, and he's gonna come back. You didn't even.
Yeah. According to Vox Day socio-sexual hierarchy, gamma males are intellectual. Maybe. Highly romantic, definitely not. Ideologically driven men who hold a lower status position in the social dominance hierarchy, though they desire to be leaders and are envious of the rank and privilege, comes natural to alphas. Betas and betas too? I don't know betas had privilege. So what does this mean? Is this good or bad? Do you want to be gamma or not? Oh, I'm beneath alphas, betas, and deltas. This isn't far off, I don't think. Anyway. Yeah, it's not far off.
Even know, but Trump loves us, and he didn't have to. Trump didn't have to be. He didn't have to be president. He was a billionaire, okay? And he put all that aside for you because he's a patriot, right?
I don't believe
and
that.
He's just playing the game with the grabblers. He just took their awards and got built out.
Notice how he caricatures Trump supporters, not as a liberal or as a leftist, but as a flat earther. But this is what flat earthers think of on people.
Fight him because he wanted them to think that he was on their team, and he planned this since his birth. He was like 5 years old, and then kindergarten he was like, I'm going to secretly get into the elite groups of people so I can save American patriotism, you know. And he's been up to this whole time, and you don't even know what he's up to right now. People think Operation Warp Speed was him just trying to get everyone genetically modified. No, it's actually this major military operation that's all using code words, and they're going to take everyone down. You just wait and see. And if you don't know,
we don't endorse the content of this.
Whatever. I mean, if you want to believe it, bro, I get it. It's Operation Trust happened in the early 1900s, bro. It's exactly what the QAnon operation is. It's like Operation Trust. Like, pretend there's some crazy behind the scenes movement that you don't have to give too many details to because it's super, covert, and they're gonna save the day to get them basically to sit on their hands. I mean, no, the government would never do that. Anyway,
I think that's it from him.
I hope you had a great Shabbat, Legend. What's up, Him Cooper? Yeah, I did, bro. We just.
Yeah, that's all. Okay, so can I get this going?
Well, I liked it. I thought it was still written well. I think it was done well. But keep going. I don't want to kiss your ass because I can't.
Fuck! This isn't gonna run. Rockfin and Streamlabs are just competing for my GPU.
It does. The article makes more sense if you assume that I'm not a truther. I know I was watching you guys.
Well said.
There was some confusion about.
Fuck. All right. Well, I guess we'll never. I thought I downloaded the whole VOD. I guess I'll have to do that. I'll just have to download the VOD, which I forget how to do.
About what certain things meant. If you go back and reread it, as someone who is not a truther, trying to understand why truthers argue, I think some of those confusing things will make more sense.
If it's gonna be choppy like this, I'll just have to stream. Alex is just like so disappointed. Streamer that I'm not actually a truther. Jaren's not even paying attention. What the hell do I have in the background? I've got my curtains on my bookshelf. Yeah, I had to look really good, you know. People think I'm well read. Good scholar. Alright, well, if this is what my GPU is gonna give me, then I'll have to cut. Shame. Yeah, in the future I'll just have to download it. That sucks. This is what I'm up against, bro. 90% of my GPU.
For Rose, she was, I think, concerned that I may have misquoted her at one point about the American Revolution. I was going back to my notes. Just do the audio. She talked about the American Revolution in Baby Truther number 9. That was June 17th. So
I kept receipts.
Paul, shut the fuck up, Paul. You do not have a note that says Rose talks about the American Revolution on Baby Truther number 9. You do not have detailed notes like that.
Can I do a screen share on StreamYard? I don't know how to do that.
Try it. It'll be small, but we can still see it.
Okay.
Jaron, are you not getting any
screen?
What?
Are you not amused by this at all? I think I'm the only one.
No.
Alright. Well, anyway, what I was going through there was I was talking about how Rose said I may have misquoted her, and I was just going to show her the notes I have. She said it in the quote about the American Revolution comes from Baby Truther Talk. Baby Truther show number 9. Just sometime in July. My chair's creaky as fuck. Oh, so anyway, I'm going to try to download the VOD, and maybe I'll show the beginning of this next Saturday, sometime around 1 or 2 o'clock, because it looks like it's not going to happen today. So I'm just going to close out of it. Polishes. Come on, go down. Actually, now that I have refreshed the page, maybe We'll just jump to the.
My own, you know what I'm saying? I've never watched my own show and gone back and critiqued it, which I should. Now seeing that, I'm not even hating, but Paul, that's unreal. But go ahead, I want to hear Jared's opinion. I still like you, Paul. Go ahead, Jared.
I still like you too, Alex. Thanks.
OnlyFans is banning sexually explicit content. I thought that's the point of it.
I know. Well, it originally wasn't intended for that, but I guess the two owners are,
Yeah, I think it became that, but I haven't heard that. Yeah.
Okay, but Jared, you made a good point. Paul, how do you watch?
So I'm looking up at my other screen.
So like what you just watched,
the other me.
So tell me about
Pseudo
the
me.
Nuremberg Code. Do you think that
my replicant?
I didn't see the full episode today,
okay.
So I just saw the parts where you talk about my article.
Gotcha.
I'll have to rewatch it.
No, I just and like 9/11 truth. I mean, so you think 9/11 was as presented on the mainstream media?
Yes, more or less, yes, but I'm not here to argue about this. I know.
Not arguing. It's just baffling to me. I can't really imagine that being the truth. But go ahead.
Wait, so Paul,
and you're not getting paid. Wait, you're not getting paid to take notes like that. You're actually doing that on your own free will. You're sitting down taking all those notes for free.
Yes, I am.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Freelance reporter, I do get paid for work. I didn't get paid
That's
for this
generous.
article. Sometimes I just do things for fun.
It's true. I didn't get paid for this article.
It looks good when you pitch things as a freelancer because they'll ask you what else have you published, and I can show them this.
Yeah, that's a bit generous too. I mostly just do it for my own amusement.
But conspiracy articles tend to not sell well because it's a small.
That is true.
And the people who write about it have a kind of.
It's a very monopolized market
Like
too.
5 people who write about it, and they're not really sharing their space, so. You can't really
not that they have to
sell this stuff, but it is fun to write about. I do like listening to conspiracy shows. I listen to them in the car when I'm making dinner.
You listen to every fucking show. What do you mean, Paul? You like to
listen to them when I do my laundry.
You listen to Mark Sargent. How? Tell me this. You listen
to Karen B, to Mark Sargent.
Yeah, forget Jared and I, which makes sense. But you listen to Mark Sargent, and I like Mark Sargent's delivery. I'm not saying Mark Sargent. Dude, what the fuck? You listen to him talk about flat Earth? You don't think the Earth? You think the Earth is we're on a spinning ball?
He's trying to say he's boring.
But... Yeah, I think we're on a spinning ball. I'm not here to argue for it, but yeah, I do believe that. I listen to.
Wow, well, you would never win that argument here. You know that. But real quick,
I know. That's why I'm not.
But keep going though. But you listen. How many hours have you listened to Mark Sargent? How many notes do you have on Mark Sargent's show?
Even more. And I interviewed Mark Sargent for the article. I talked to him for like an hour on the phone. So he would probably recognize my name. Like, if you, I don't think he remembers the people who call him. But if you asked him, like, do you know Paul Mulholland? He would say, yeah, he called me a few times. So yeah, I talked to him. Brian Stavely, if you try to contact him as a reporter, he never answers. So I have to call into his show to ask him questions. That's how I interviewed him. Because if you call someone on the show, it's on the record. So that's fair enough.
Am I fatter now than I was
then?
then?
2 interviews I did for the article. Everything else was just like observation stuff.
Back from August.
Well, I might need you to write some more outlandish articles about me, Paul, in the future that we can post. Would you write one about my transitioning, how I'm transitioning to be a female slowly?
I think you should write about that.
Would you post that? Would you write an article about that, how I'm doing the world's slowest transition? I'm trying to go into Guinness Book of World Records.
No.
What is your hold on, let me ask you, what is your goal of writing articles like this if it's not to get it shut down? What could possibly be?
Oh yeah, Jared was like very skeptical.
I'm just going to write about these people because I enjoy it, even though I think that they're wrong. I just want to write about it because I hope people tune in and then think for themselves. Or sounds to me like your intent would be to get the show shut down.
I really hope their show
I'm
never
trying to get you guys shut down.
So that's why I asked what your intent was.
My articles to get you shut down anyway. So also, I think if you go through the tone of the article, there's nothing like, this is dangerous. This needs to stop today. So none of that really in there.
I don't think the tone was that
I think it depends on who reads it. I mean, if you have
nobody read it
that have shut me down from PayPal and from Venmo. And I mean, so you watch my show. Am I dangerous enough that I should not be able to bank with Venmo and PayPal?
Absolutely not.
No, you're not.
Okay, well, so at least you have some smarts.
And YouTube hasn't thrown your main channel off, at least not lately, right?
Nope. Though I had two. Well, I have one strike right now, but
flat earthers don't really get banned.
I mean, if you go back and look, we're very careful. We do a half of the show over there where we don't say anything bad.
I've talked to Alex about that. Yeah.
So that's my only defense, and that seems to be working for now. But
I don't have a rubber band on my. I never do that.
Drop us. But people like the.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Who am I thinking of? who's the organization like that? ADL.
IDF.
Sorry, ADL.
Yeah.
So the ADL is going around and shutting people down, and so when they find articles like that, or they can at any point, they will force that down people's throats, and then that's how things ultimately
I don't think the ADL read my article, but again, I'm
So
flattered.
it just seems like I would think when you write an article, if I wrote an article, there would be a reason behind it. That's all. So I don't know really what the reason is behind the article. Who's reading that? Who do you think the articles are geared towards?
So this one I mostly wrote for myself. I didn't even pitch this anywhere. It's just a genuine curiosity for me. It does look good. You can get a few bucks on Medium. I have other articles on conspiracy theories I can share with you, so you can see what else I've written. I did some stuff around the time. You guys remember Mike Hughes, Rocket Man?
Yeah.
I did some stuff on YouTube and in writing around the time he died. Looking at the things he was doing in the months leading up to his death. That was interesting. He was basically just suing a lot of people because he believed in a lot of weird legal conspiracy theories and like legal loopholes, and you can sue people for.
Yeah, he tried to steal my name. So yeah.
Oh yeah, he did.
Your name?
I remember that.
Well, how did he try? What, legally? What?
Yeah, he went and filed trademarks for all of our names. Me, Karen B, Mark Sargent, Obama.
Did it to Barack Obama. Yeah, Elon Musk.
What? Because you're
basically
flat Earth?
That if your name appears in capital letters, like on a passport or something, that refers to a legal entity and not a person. So you could copyright someone's legal name, such as Jaron Campanella, as a corporation, and you would own the rights to that as intellectual property, right? You would own the name Jaron Campanella, and then you could sue Jaron on intellectual property infringement, basically saying he's
because I'm the corporation using the property of the weird.
That's not true, but Mike Hughes believed it, and he believed it enough to sue dozens of people on that basis.
Okay, people are flipping out. I gotta end.
What?
I can't see the chat, so I don't know.
I was talking about ending something else, but everybody. No, stop. Go ahead. No, I can't let people trip out. Dave it's a joke. Relax, folks.
No, it's not a joke about David. Don't fuck David. I hate David. David said the N-word.
I can't see the chat. Are you guys in Rockpin right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in
all right. Final words. We got to get to the next.
Final words, Paul, and we'll have
you back. So if you want to talk to us,
because I want to make fun of you and Dave, and I want you to write an article about how I have the biggest penis in flat Earth. And how I'm going to cut it off.
I put my YouTube
cut it off and donate it to Flat Earth.
The private chat, so if you could promote my YouTube channel, that'd be fantastic.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Where is my channel and stuff listed in your article there? The links and everything? I didn't see it.
So fair enough. You don't have to promote mine.
I'll put it on there. Come on, go ahead.
Thanks, Paul. You don't get a spin. You don't get a spin either. You're not winning anything on this show.
Wow, Jared, you don't like Paul. I didn't realize that he was a freelancer. He was a patron of mine. He's a patron of mine. That's not necessarily why I liked him, but I thought he was a nice guy. Him and I've talked. He seems like a genuine fan of yours and I's.
Fan?
I know that's weird. I know he doesn't agree with us, but shit, maybe he's coming to it slow. I don't fucking know.
I'm not coming to it slow.
If you still want to watch the show, watch the show. I don't give two shits.
That's a good point. I don't mind different beliefs, but if you're going to write articles, I want to know the intent. And I want to know.
I don't have an intent. It's just interesting, and I like writing. I like it.
Monetary gain. He said do it. He does it for himself. That's
weird. I know it's weird.
Meticulous.
What's up, Izzo?
Hey.
All right. Well, anyway.
I was a little late to the show today. I just came from motor vehicles, and I didn't know Alex was transitioning.
Anyway, that's all we're gonna get. Oh, let's go. Thanks for watching.